This is my homecoming. It really is. Yeah, I was born here. Not even far from probably the tiki. And when we moved, the reason we moved from Halifax was because my dad woke up one morning and the snow, it was one last time digging his car out of snow. He got really, really pissed off and said, we're going to California. He just put his finger on a map and said, Pasadena, California. Sounds warm. Southern California. And we drove across the country. And I was just a young toddler. And I was unceremoniously uprooted from Halifax and brought to Southern California, where we had a little house with a white picket fence where the weather was sunny every day. And I would pick weeds and listen to my dad listen to baseball on an AM radio. And there was a guy named Vin Scully who would call the games. Vin Scully, he's just a beautiful, beautiful, he's like a poet when he calls a game. And he would call these games, and the Dodgers would be playing, and my dad would explain the game of baseball to me. And it was so cool having my dad do that. And we went down to the courthouse because my dad studied to become a United States of America citizen. And he brought me to the courthouse, and everybody was scared we were going to become communists. And so they were really scared. There was a big red scare, and we had to swear that we weren't going to join the Communist Party. And my dad would still explain baseball to me. We became citizens. And then he said to me, but you can still be a Canadian. And I wasn't worried about that. I was worried that I would have to revoke my Catholicism and go to hell by becoming an American. That really scared me. So once again, baseball kept coming into play, and they said, okay, you're going to be an altar boy. You're going to make your first communion at the Catholic Church. So I didn't have to revoke that. So I made my first communion, and then my mind, my active imagination got involved, and I was scared that when they said this host represents Jesus' body, I wanted his leg, you know? I wanted the dark meat. So I freaked out thinking they were going to be out of the leg, you know? And then my dad explained to me other baseball announcers. There was a guy named Jack Buck who was the voice of the Cardinals. He's also a poet. And when Jack Buck called a game, his voice sounded like it was soaked in whiskey and cigarettes. And he'd say, and here come the Cardinals in the bottom of the ninth inning. And I met him, and he was the nicest man. He's since passed away, and he had a book of poetry out. And then my other uncle worked up in Canada, and he taught me about Ernie Harwell because he was a Detroit Tigers fan because he was across the border in Canada. And so it just went on and on and on. And this song's called A Brief History of My Life. We first moved to the USA all the way from Canada. We drove across the continent from Nova Scotia to Pasadena. My sister and me, yeah, my mom and dad, from the cold to the sunny south. There were palm trees growing and it was not snowing, and I never did shut my mouth. We drove on over to the courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. Put our hands on a Bible and we swore as a family that we were not communists. When we drove away, I started to cry. They said, what's wrong, son? Are you sick? I said, I don't want to be an American. I want to be a Catholic. We talked Hollywood and baseball in the car. The voice of Vin Scully, it would travel really far. Hey. I made my first communion in St. Rita's Catholic Church. There was incense choking and a priest was smoking. Was a choir up in the perch. My face got red and my stomach felt bad. They said, if you're gonna get sick, use a cup. Well, I thought by the time that it was my turn, Jesus would be all eaten up. We talked Hollywood and baseball in the car. The voice of Jack Buck, it would travel really far. My allergies are bad, so we moved to the desert to a city called Palm Springs. We trick-or-treated at Liberace's house. Each finger had a diamond ring. We met Elvis Presley in the middle of the summer, and he hugged my sister for far too long. Man, I felt kind of weird, but I would have pimped her out just to hear him sing a song. We talked Hollywood and baseball in the car. The voice of Ernie Harwell, it would travel really far. Now here I am, a grown-up boy at home on the 4th of July, staring out at the ocean and the fireworks in the sky. I miss my friends who aren't around, the ones who passed away. Well, I'm feeling kinda grateful here on Independence Day. We talked Hollywood and baseball in the car. The voice of Jerry Coleman, it still travels really far. I get allergies and asthma in the yard, and no one ever told me growing up would be so hard. Woo.